Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking out your time on this Saturday morning. So, before we start and kick off the event, a few checkpoints. Please feel free to ask your questions over the chat box. Shivam from AWS team, he will allocate the right questions to the panelist who will either answer it over the chat itself, or Shivam will answer on their behalf, or they will pick up while they are taking the Q&A part of the panel. And without waiting any, and also you can ask the questions after the webinar in case you have missed it, or Twitter. I'll be sharing you the caption and hashtag for the same. And without wasting any further time, over to Shivam. Shivam.
Thanks so much, Vineet. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking out your time on a Saturday morning. I am just quickly going to talk about two things over here. So the first one is about our Activate program. So we have something called an Activate program for startups. This program entitles you with three things, commercial enablement, which is offering you credits to build on AWS, technical enablement, which is offering you our solutions architects to work with you and help you build your technology solution, and go-to-market support wherever applicable. We also reach out to our partners and our other customers to help you get channels for your revenue as well. So if you're part of any accelerator, incubator, or funded by a investor VC and you've not availed AWS credits yet, please feel free to reach out. The second part I'm going to talk about is what after this webinar, right? So I'm sure that everyone over here is interested in AI ML, and that's the reason you're on this webinar. So what AWS is doing post this webinar, we'll reach out to you with a detailed form to participate in our something called AI deep dive sessions, which is essentially one-to-one sessions with you guys on your AI/ML product, helping you build that AI/ML use case, not just by advising you, but also providing you resources like, our solutions architect will do a deep dive with you to understand your use case and help you build it. And also we're offering specific AI/ML service level credits just for you to experiment with the AI/ML services and build it without incurring any cost, right? Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to the moderator for today, which is Kanishka, who is our AI/ML expert from AWS. Kanishka, your screen is frozen, I
Thanks,
think.
Shivam. Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. I know it's a Saturday, but we thought we'll make it a little more fun, especially with what we do with AI and everything around deploying this for industrial applications. So we've got a good panel, but before we just start off and kick off the panel, I did want to introduce you all to Mr. Ravi Narayan, who is the CEO for T-Hub. Now, for those of, I'm sure a number of you already know Ravi. Ravi's been in the industry with NASSCOM, with multiple other bodies for almost 20 plus years. Ravi comes with a lot of experience, especially in the venture catalyst space, the startup accelerator space, and he's worked for the last 20 years in building institutions for supporting entrepreneurship globally. So Ravi, over to you on this.
Great, thank you, Kanishka, for inviting me and all of AWS for collaborating with T-Hub to bringing this session to the startups. It's a very exciting time for our startup ecosystem, that the kind of work that is happening, the kind of opportunities that we are having in front of these startups is absolutely I think unprecedented at this point in time. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, somehow this whole thing disappeared on me. Hang on. All right. So I'll continue speaking, although I can't see any of the photos of the people on the screen. Okay, there it is. Okay, so yeah, as Kanishka mentioned, I've been with the startups world for quite some time, been an entrepreneur myself, and then I'm an investor, and then I helped Microsoft build their startup program across the world. So I'm very familiar with what are the possibilities that are emerging. So just to kind of go back to why you are all in a very, very special place. See, we started our startup journey in India back in 2006. So about 2006 to 2011, we basically went about copying and pasting some very interesting business models across the world and said, this is the Indian version of this thing. And that's what we were doing. Whether it fitted or not, it didn't matter, but we were doing it anyway, because we thought that would be, if the world can use it, why not India as well? It didn't work very well. A lot of startups that came around that time did not do anything very interesting. Not many are around here today either. From 2012 to 2015, we saw a lot of B2C startups coming up. And this is especially true for any ecosystem. It's not like we did it as the first thing. It's kind of the low-hanging fruit, if you will. And Germany, with Rocket Internet and others also did B2C first, and then they've gotten into other things as well. Then I think the real time, also by this time, a bunch of entrepreneurs have been through this journey and have begun to get the confidence themselves, and also therefore for the entire ecosystem to do something much larger. So the B2B era, kicked in around 2016, only about 4 years ago. And for the last 3-4 years, we've been taking on a B2B set of problems. So obviously these, as you can imagine, are much more substantive. They're not, about eyeballs or number of clicks. It's about taking on some heavy duty industrial issues or heavy duty enterprise level issues and solving them using deeper technology. And when you're doing all these things, you have to really be very confident about the ability to do that. It's one thing to sit inside of Amazon and solving this problem, because you have multiple engineers, you have architects, you have sales people who can go put you in front of customers and so on and so forth. And then to solve that is one thing. But if you are a startup, let's say sitting in Koramangala or Gurugram and saying, okay, I will do this with 3-4 people holed up in a small office or a co-working space, it's very, very different. So you have to be very, very clear about the kind of problem that you take on to solve, and also be able to architect the problem in conjunction with these the customers that are going to take this thing on. And also, after, even if you may have one of the best problems, the chances that your customers will actually accept your solution and really embrace that solution is also not very easy, unless you have the ability to do something absolutely disruptive and and be able to do something there where you give them the confidence that it's actually being done in scale. If you don't give them that level of confidence, they won't do it. So we have now come to a point where B2B has become very much accepted as an area for you to solve problems in. But within that, there are other areas that, like AI, and especially in AI, industrial AI, is when you're trying to use AI and other opportunities to do much more than what regular manufacturing opportunities were there, to do something much more, manufacturing and robotics and various other areas, agriculture. That is becoming the easier places for you to do a lot of these kinds of things, especially when you are able to offer these solutions through large enterprises such as Amazon and others, who can actually not only give you the credibility, but also the opportunity to really get the right business model to go after these opportunities. And as you can well imagine, sometimes being a startup with 7-10 people, you may not be able to solve the kind of industrial problem that is required to be solved. You may actually need to join hands with another couple of startups, or maybe a system integration arm of AWS or a system integrator, to really do something much more substantive that an industry can actually embrace and take it forward. And so all of these things set us up for a good clear understanding of the opportunities that are there. There has been a lot of investment that has already happened in the ecosystem. The way I look at it is, there have been some successful entrepreneurs, and we can look up to them and say, see, they actually did a great job. They raised a lot of venture capital, and now they've sold their companies to large, large and MNCs maybe. But at the same time, people who have failed also have contributed to the ecosystem. They have actually told us collectively what is it that is, a thing to watch out for. What is it that we should not be doing so that we don't have the same issues ourselves? So why reinvent the wheel when already that has come back into the ecosystem as a no, and stay away from it. So the ability for us to evolve the ecosystem, mature the ecosystem has already happened. So you're poised at this very, very important juncture of this Indian startup ecosystem. And while we were all looking to solve only slices of problems or slivers of problems that were, at the global stage, I think we now have the unique ability to start solving these problems, in a much larger way. Just like any entrepreneur who's sitting in Silicon Valley or anybody who's sitting in Berlin, solving similar problems, for their customers. So I think it's a very interesting time for all of you. And if you're embarking on this journey, no better than having such a large partner with you as in AWS to help you. And these are in two fronts. Just let me reiterate once again. One is being able to reach customers. If you were to do this through your own connections, yes, you will be able to isolate certain problems, define certain problems, but they may not be in its entirety. But having AWS help you connect with these customers to identify the problems, validate the problem, validate your solution, and maybe scale your solution. All of these things actually happen on the backs of a very credible partner like AWS and their ilk in the industry. The other thing, of course, is the fact that most of us are very, very happy to build, these innovative solutions very quickly through, the initial few months. We build it, we prototype it, we make it work. But, it may actually be able to do something for, let's say, uh, maybe 4, 5, 10, 100 instances. But after that, if you really need to deploy this at an industrial level and really be able to supply this to a large industry house, an ABB or anybody else, you will not be able to do that. Having architected your solution the way you embarked on this in the beginning. So you have to really go back to the drawing board and say, okay, the solution works in this particular way, but really to scale this solution, I have to architect it in a very different way. And therefore, going back, leveraging, probably the native capabilities of AWS to really get this thing right. And then also go through a process of, testing it at that level, at that, scale is something that, a lot of the partners AWS will be able to help you make that happen. So while it's a very unique, very clever, very nifty solution, it is not going to stand, the scrutiny of a large industrial buyer of yours unless you have been able to scale it and really build it for that level of, magnitude of impact. So all of these things are, I think, very important. I had the fortune of working with Flutura, Altizon. These were some startups that I worked with very closely to help them with where they are today. And I continue to do this work at T-Hub, T-Hub being the partner here, where we feel that a lot of you startups require all the help that you can. AWS is one of our partners who's on this journey to help all of you to make this thing happen for all the reasons that I said, and many more. But at the same time, we also are uniquely positioned. So while we are doing a lot of work to help startups with mentoring, technology, service provider access, investor access, and so on and so forth, we also spend a fair amount of time with the customer side, because the more and more customers become open to the idea of buying from startups, investing in startups, collaborating with startups, acquiring startups, then the pace of innovation just accelerates so much more. So we work with the likes of Raytheon, the likes of Intel and others to help them become even more innovative through very quickly available solutions through startups. So we are actually creating the demand for startup solutions through the work that we do as what we call as corporate innovation. So this is the kind of work that we do, based out of Hyderabad. But at the same time, we feel that the COVID has become the chief digital officer for us as well, as in they have basically flattened the world. We are not restricted geographically anymore. Maybe we are restricted a little bit through time zone because as much as we can, we want to do it during our waking hours. But otherwise, there are no restrictions. So which startups we work with, which customers we open up innovation possibilities with is pretty much wide open at this point in time. So do look up T-Hub when you get a chance, and also see in what ways we, along with AWS, can accelerate your journey, because I think the window of opportunity is wide open. You should go ahead and grab this opportunity and build your startups. It's a great time, and best of luck to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. And I think those are great words, at least to kick off something like this. For the rest of the people who are listening, and I see there are almost a large number of people listening into the webinar right now. I did want to introduce you to our panel today. What we will look for is for the next 45 minutes is essentially what is AI, machine learning, in some cases deep analytics, doing for industrial applications. So we're looking at applications of AI when it comes to, say, predictive maintenance in terms of drones and what it could be doing in smart cities in terms of urban observatories. So there are a number of those areas that we will look and there's a pretty diverse panel that we have today. Let me just quickly go around and introduce the panelists to you. So we've got Dr. R. Gopalakrishnan. He's the General Manager, Data Analytics for Center for Rail Information Systems, which is CRIS. For a large number of you who know, CRIS is probably the largest railway information system holding company in the world. All of the reservation systems that you go via CRIS. So that he's with us. He heads the entire data analytics and artificial intelligence unit across multiple business verticals in the Indian Railways, and specifically looking in the domain of optimization and machine learning. Dr. Gopal Krishna has also been a national award winner for excellence in civil service. He's skilled in optimization, econometrics, data science, and management, as well as multiple research papers published with academic journals. So welcome, Dr. Gopal Krishna. We also have Mr. Brijesh Pandey. Brijesh is the CEO and founder of Garuda UAV. Garuda is a hot upcoming drone platform. They've also got Blue Hawk, which is one of their other products that they actually put out drone delivery mechanisms on. Obviously, Brijesh used to work with organizations before till he, started following his own passion on drone logistics, on how can you make drones become mainstream assets. So today, with the intent of forming Garuda UAV, they have gone ahead and started blending multiple technologies such as AI, machine learning, IoT, and data analytics to bring together what used to be manual operations to now into surveying, mapping, inspections, and surveillance. So there's a lot of work that they do around that space. They're also right now building a drone delivery platform, which will start solving some of the last mile micro logistics area. Brijesh also serves on the FICCI's drone committee, where he works with multiple government regulators and the drone industry in all. So welcome, Brijesh, to the panel. And finally, we've got Surya Prakash. She's Senior Principal Data Science Manager with Quantella. Preeti is local actually to Hyderabad, so a number of you listening from Hyderabad, Quantella is based out of Hyderabad. They do a lot of work with Telangana government. She works primarily in enabling analytics, AI/ML based business solutions for customers, and has got almost a decade of experience in driving and leading teams on product and services delivery across multiple domains. She's also done an advanced management degree at the Indian School of Business. and has had a proven success in leading organizations around customer excellence and business opportunities. So welcome panelists to that, and I'll be your moderator. My name is Kanishka Agiwal. I head up the Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning practice for AWS India South Asia. Now, when we start off, some just quick logistics. What we will do is there are a set of discussion points that we'll have with the panel, but you can still go ahead and plug in case there are some questions that you have as an audience. Feel free to use the chat or the hashtag, and somebody in the team will forward it to us. In case it's relevant for the immediate discussion that we're having, we will probably take it up as part of the flow of the panel. Otherwise, some of the other questions which are not directly pertaining, we will take it up at the end of the panel. So we'll have a quick 10-minute Q&A at the end of the panel, but I'm happy to take any one of these during the course of the panel as well. Okay. So let me start off, and I wanted to actually start off with Brijesh. And this is not because I am biased. I just love drones, and as kids, or even as I call as young adults, we're all absolutely fascinated with what drones can do. It seems like Jetsons some years back, where you could have drones deliver things to you. You could start using this for surveying. You could use it for any kind of mapping, for maintenance. So there are multiple applications that drones are coming up with, and it's a very high implication area, especially now, even in the COVID scenario, where you want to have low contact, low touch kind of application to survey out. Drones can be super important, right? So Brijesh, I wanted to talk to you and run us through the next few minutes on how do you think with Garuda UAV and with Blue Hawk, how are you leveraging AI ML, especially in bringing an edge to what drone applications can do, right? From video to how you navigate the drone itself, the beyond visual side kind of applications of drones. So run us through that. What are you thinking in the entire space with AI ML around here?
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thanks, Kanishka, for the introduction, and thanks for inviting me for this discussion. So I'll start with the introduction of UAV. So honestly, when we started, the objective was to build a platform first. Then we realized that we need a real problem statement, and we need a domain expertise. So because right now we are serving 14 verticals, so what the way we went, like providing services, getting the knowledge, and then build a use case and then execute it. So basically, introduction of UAVs has radically it's shifted the operational dynamics. Like the traditional sectors like survey, inspection, delivery. Delivery is the future, but the traditional sectors were not using the technology, and the data collection for the tall infrastructure, critical infrastructure was very difficult. So it's like a traditional way of data collection is to climb and get the right data, and it's very huge data. Reporting will be done in next 6-7 days. So, and there is no digital solution, no digital platform. Like send a PDF document, there is no linking and all. So what Blue Hawk does, it's the right combination of Garuda UAV and Blue Hawk, because we are a leading service provider. We are working with the different like 14 verticals we are covering right now, including highways, transmission, telecom, oil and gas, and different sectors. So the learning the use cases and integrating the solutions, like first collecting the information, because we have domain experts. So objective was to learn the problem statements and then build the use case and then come up with the POC. So that's how we started working. And right now we are automating the problem statements that we are encountering. So the first objective was whatever we are serving, like whatever services we are providing, at least start automating all those use cases. So I'll start with the maintenance. Tall infrastructure maintenance, we are providing services to transmission companies, even for highway inspection. So one use case I'll tell you, and the good part was like if you are providing inspection for oil and gas, so in the traditional way, for one company we introduced drone, and they asked their expert to come from Germany and Australia. They were helping us to conduct this operation. So that's where I realized that okay, so let's build one kind of platform where even inspection can be done online. all the inspection guys can participate from their own locations, like do a live command center kind of feeling, and where we build a flight planning application. So it's like fly drone, capture the data, live stream it, provide a online control to drone, capture the data automatically, detect the anomalies automatically, and then push into the cloud where a model will do the job. So prediction will start their job. Maybe it's not 100% accurate. So if you will start thinking like I'll have to convert this, we'll have to provide 100% accurate solution, it won't work. So self-learning model, that's what we are following, like self-learning model, because we are providing services, and it's like every month we are building more data in different verticals. So this data is helping our Blue Hawk platform to automate maybe 30% accurate for first few months, and then it's increasing the predictions, the accuracy of prediction. So that's how automated reporting, automated flight plan, because if a different infrastructure require a different type of flight plan, capture the right data, because the first problem you will face when you are capturing data, it should be a right kind of data. You should not depend on the pilot. So first automate the drone. So that's what we did. We built a different type of flight plans for tall infrastructure. Transmission has a different use case where you will have a guide wire, and it will have some impact. So that's what we did, integrating different technology at one place, and then providing a kind of right workflow, and then finally pass data through the AI model that already we are capturing, and with the consent of customer, we are automating those problem statements. So that's how we are going through.
Thank you, Brijesh. Thank you. I have a quick follow-on question, Brijesh, to you. Is when you've used especially drones in terms of automating the flight paths, knowing, etc., do you want to share some light, especially what the government is thinking around this? What's policy looking out with multiple drones actually crisscrossing the airspace? How's AIML going to help solve this traffic problem?
Okay, so still we are technically and legally we can't fly beyond visual line of sight as of now. The platform supports beyond visual line of sight. Even Blue Hawk is for beyond visual line of sight. But as of now, a digital sky platform, that is the essential web portal that DGCA has launched. It's still not operational. So when it will be operational, then it's like a very quick permission approval, and then all the compliances will be removed. Submit your flight plan, get the approval from DGCA, and then fly a drone. So they have divided a different zones, and based on the zone, you will get approval instantly, and maybe it will have more documentation. You need a NP/NT compliant drone, no permission, no takeoff. So there are compliances, but still, this is the fact that beyond visual line of sight is still not functioning. Like it will take a couple of months, maybe a year, because still trial is going on. So the policy is in like still not evolved properly. So still it will take more than maybe it will take 1 year. So that's where we are trying to optimize our platform, integrating with the digital. When the digital sky platform will be live, we'll have to integrate with the digital sky platform, because the flight plan, when we are creating, we need to submit the flight plan to digital sky. That is where we will get the approval. And then the real-time tracking, geofencing, different features. Geofencing means you have to fly within the premises, within the flight plan that is that you got the approval. So within the visual line of sight is still functioning, but yes, digital sky is coming in a couple of months. But actual drone delivery or automated inspection beyond visual line of sight, you will have to wait for another 1 year.
Sure. Thanks, Brijesh. I think that's pretty exciting. We'll come back to you on some more insights on drones. But I want to go to Dr. Gopalakrishnan, and this is more to do. We've heard what Garuda is doing, especially in the hot startup space, right? But Chris, while the bulk of the audience and the world typically tags Chris as one that holds the entire passenger reservation system for Indian Railways, but there's a lot of work that Chris does beyond that. There's a lot of freight optimization today. There is the rake schedulings, the entire maintenance. So there's a ton of diverse activities that Chris undertakes, and there's a lot of data that Chris is also sitting on in terms of how can you bring all of this data together? How can you make patterns out of it? How can you correlate it? So, in an organization that is as large as Chris, how do you typically, what's your strategy in deploying something like machine learning? And are there any cross-pollination of those ideas that could work for, say, one part of your department and therefore take it to another part of your department? Or do you need siloed data to become more like a data lake kind of setup, right? So, just run us through how does this work in a large enterprise like Chris?
That's a very good question, Kanishka. And as most of you are in the AI space, everybody understands that the entire problem is like 80% of the challenge lies in the data, and only 20% challenge in the time and the effort goes into the models part of it. So we have a large spectrum of applications because railways has it's not just the running of trains and dealing with customers or passengers. We own the tracks, we have signaling systems, we have overhead traction, we have locomotives, we have coaches and wagons. So all of that data is getting digitized. As some of them like around 90%. So almost you can say within a year or so we will be able to integrate all of that, including the drones that Brajesh was talking about. We almost digitized 95% of our land plans and all the tracks. So we have looking at those kind of geographical information systems as well. And we have a good system of breaking the silos. Like we have already integrated around 60 use cases of data integration across IT systems. So even though the specializations will be in different domains, there will be a civil engineer, there will be a mechanical engineer, and there will be an accounts or finance guy. You're able to cut across and have a large amount of integration. So we have our systems of data integration. We are also building in data lakes wherein we will be porting in external data wherever we need. We get access to live feeds from, say, the electricity generation in the country, so that we are able to estimate coal demand. So we are in that process of even taking in external data. And we have in fact deployed a couple of systems which you have already seen, but because of COVID, the data has got corrupted. You can say all our models need to be retrained because the data has just got vitiated. So things like a waitlist prediction for trains, which I developed for the IRCT, which is again an AI-based model, and we have a good operations research model for capacity optimization on trains. And so the freight side, we also all our trains and all our locomotives are tracked on real-time basis with satellites of ISRO. So we get feed every 30 seconds of the lat long and speed and all the coordinates of each of the trains that go around in the system. So we're able to, in fact, we're also doing some kind of spatial clustering algorithms to find out where exactly we have unscheduled train halts, somewhere in between stations, like which we are not able to detect, which are the level crossings which are affecting our train operations. So we are in the process of deploying all these kind of solutions. We are almost at, like, in say, final stages of deploying. So it has opened up a very large spectrum of things, and we don't just restrict ourselves to internal Chris. So a lot of effort this we are taking is AI/ML models have been developed within Chris. So we're also in a partnership with institutions outside for different specializations, and also academic institutions, and also we're open to startup community as such.
Okay. I'll probably go to, I'll come back to you, Doctor, on that, especially what you're doing with ISRO. That's and all the spatial clustering that happens with the data that you have. So that's, I think, very interesting. We weren't aware that actually the trains are tracked by satellites, using ISRO's help. So that's a good insight. I wasn't aware personally myself. But I'll come to you, Preeti, and this is the work that Quantilla does, primarily in smart cities, in a lot of urban observatory. So Quantilla has been at the forefront, especially in terms of COVID response as well. There's a lot of work that you have done in providing with the state of Telangana dashboarding. Any kind of input that you have will come up on the COVID dashboard, and then there is modeling that is done, the spread prediction of those models, etc. Now, obviously, that's a topical use of the entire smart city and the urban observatory data that comes in, right, which Quantilla pretty much specializes in. How have you deployed, taking this, again, a very diverse feed of data coming in from municipal bodies or any urban body that is coming in, and then model it out for real applications? When I say real applications, these could be, can I look at just normal traffic management? Can I look at garbage collection? Can I look at the way a density of a particular layout is building up? So, the time series modeling around it. So how's Quantilla actually started deploying machine learning? to build these specific models? What's been your thought process?
Yeah, sure. So let me set the context a bit on the background of Quantilla, right? So we are into smart cities business. So if I have to explain a layperson on the call that what is smart cities, so cities are urbanized versions of the world today, and because of for job reasons, whatever reasons, people are moving to cities today, and today 55% of the population is in cities, right? So all the amenities that the people require, with the citizen at the center of everything, and the governance part of it, where they have to take care of everything so that it runs smoothly, the operational efficiency part of it, it is really a lot of data. And if you want to understand what Quantilla does, I think we just have to look around and see what is that a citizen needs to have a good life in urban cities, right? It's ranging from the good water supply maintained, from air quality, which is very important for citizens. I mean, for you and me, it is. You just have to look around to understand what we do. How do we maintain the traffic congestion points? How do we predict things in advance? So when it comes to the machine learning aspect of it, right? So there are a lot of things that you can do manually, and we have been doing it for years. So the whole concept of a city versus a smart city, what exactly gets added in the middle is the digitalization part of it. How do you make use of the data that is flowing through different kinds of sensors, with different sensors that are there in place today, which are cheaper, with a minuscule version of the sensor that can capture the amount of data and what all magic it can do. So we have a platform that has been developed over years, and it is so robust today that you can take in data from various points in time. It could be IoT devices, it could be various infrastructure that APIs are exposed, it could be a web service, it could be MQ, any form of data points. And with the data scaling, now Hadoop is in place, data lake is in place. Technology is just a small piece, but first thing, if you have to take actions, if you have to take governance part of it, how do you do it? You just need everything in one place. So system consolidation is the first step towards building smart cities. So that is what we have done. And then when we talk about AI and ML, right? So like I said, even Ravi pointed out the initial part of it, that we can do everything manually, but do we really have time to respond? So we can make use of AI ML models, the deep learning models, where you can predict things. So all the legacy before AI ML, we always had the programming aspect of it, where there is a mathematical formula. There are rules that if you have A plus B equal to C is what is your C. But then today, with the way that the data is getting generated, the amount of data that you have, the whole paradigm shift is happening, where you're not having any mathematical formulas, but the data itself is telling you what is happening. So the concept of building the models around it, the training the models with the data that you have, so the data can figure out the patterns that are happening. So if I'm able to predict that, hey, in this area, probably there will be traffic congestion 7 days down the line, how do you plan your infrastructure, or maybe placing your traffic cops or anything, by taking a basic insight that there is congestion at this point. So there is big data. And then the beauty of, I would say, AWS in all these cases is it offers a platform where you can spin an instance, and everything costs, right? You really don't want to use the GPUs whenever you want. You want to use it when you really need it. So how do so for development workshop, probably I just need a Jupyter instance that I can quickly spin and then maybe do some programming, then switch it off. Now for training, I don't want an instance to be up and running all the time. This is very important for startups. Startups don't have that capability to have large infrastructure in place. You spin it when you want, and then make use of it, train the model, switch it off, so that your costs are saved, you are on par, and tomorrow when you're ready for scale, you can scale it. Scaling is a very important aspect that I think AWS also provides, right? So we have our own platform, but there are a lot of players in the market that give you the ability to scale with your reduced costs, and how we take our citizens into consideration. So for governance, it's very important that they hear out the citizens. It's very important to connect the two important elements of smart cities, citizens versus the governance. So how we read social media. So if I talk about ML, all this abilities of being able to do NLP, being able to read social sentiments and convey to the governance where there is a problem, where do I focus, because we have very limited resources. We can't offer resources everywhere. So where what is needed is the key. And then even for cover, right? So what we have been able to do with cover, which is the COVID-19 emergency response team, today we sell this offering for many cities. So if you're sitting centrally, and COVID, unfortunately, a pandemic situation, not much in our control, but what is in our control is how do we take care of our own citizens? How do we ensure that they have adequate hospitals, adequate medical units? How do I predict in advance using all this technology, which is basically just a tool to say, hey, there is a lot of issue in in this area. Probably you need to get more PPE kits here, ventilators out here, hospital beds in this area, in this zone, because there is density. Maybe this is the hotspot area that you want to analyze. And then if we go back to smart agriculture concepts, how do I take the satellite images? I think we talked about, someone pointed out just now that how we can make use of the open data satellite images that we get from ISRO, and how do we make sense of it? How do I say that when to plant where? So technology is going places, and I think with all the tools in place in terms of reduced costs, using what you want, and capabilities, we're really going places. And for us with smart cities, that's the objective. How do we make use of all of this to make our own citizens' lives better in terms of environment maintenance, traffic maintenance, even solid waste management maintenance, etc., etc.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to come to you, Brijesh, and this is going to be more, you see flavors of this, how it works with a startup versus a large organization like Chris and Quantella. I think when we deploy ML, there are a number of challenges that come up, and these challenges could be right from knowing, the technical challenges of knowing which is the right ML model to be deployed. Am I over-engineering the problem? Should I just be looking at typical analytics? Can it be done manually? So those are those dilemmas that one typically goes through. Startups, it's much easier because you're agile, you can move much faster. It's more of experiment, fail fast, and move on. So you tend to spin up instances like Preeti was mentioning. If you figure out that it's working, then you move on. Otherwise, you shut it down and spin up something else. Right? So that's how it typically works. But beyond that, there could be other challenges also of is this the right approach to be taken? There could be other specific, people-specific issues that may come up. So, Brijesh, how have you tackled? What are the challenges that you have faced when you've deployed machine learning? And run us through your thinking process, how you've generally deployed this at Garuda. Sorry, Brijesh, you're on mute.
Brijesh, you're on mute.
Yeah, so the biggest challenge that we faced, and even I think every company faces, is like the availability of right kind of data. So you will have, maybe you will have a huge data, but the right kind of data, right set of data is very important. So the initially, and another problem is data security, and then the scaling of that's already, it has already been covered. How AWS is helping us. Even you already know how we are deploying all our models to AWS. So that's the one problem. The major problem is availability of data, where if you need to build any industrial solution, you need to have a right kind of data. And right kind of data, the concern comes from the customer that they are very particular about the data privacy, data security. Nobody will give you the data just for the research. And you don't need like a few data. You need if you have to solve 5 problem statement, you need tons of data just to train the problem statements. So the approach that we took, like that's how when I came, when we founded this company, at that time I thought like we'll have a problem. This platform owner only will not enter into the services. And that's where I realized that, okay, I have to build a model for highway. I need tons of data, and I need to understand the domain first. Then only I can solve problems. Solving one problem, NHI is not going to deploy my product just to solve one problem. Our railway is not going to deploy my application just to solve one problem. Maybe we can sell API, but it won't solve the problem. So that's where we entered into the services. Garuda UAV is the leading company now, and now we have tons of data, and people are interacting more with the real customer. So the approach was to interact with the customer, get the real problem statement, come up with the POC, come up with the approach, and then go for the POC. So that approach worked very well. Even in NHI, Mr. A.K. Srivastava was supposed to join, and that's how we did for NHI was the first customer for us. And that's where we started providing services. We completed 300, right? So far, we have completed 3,000 kilometers of highway inspection. So my service team is providing right kind of data. We got experts, GIS experts, civil experts. They are providing right kind of data, and then we started classifying the problem. So the first thing is you have to identify the problem. Next level, you will go and try to classify the problem, like what kind of problem is. Like finding a pothole is fine, but what kind of pothole is it? It's alligator crack, it's a pothole, it's like classifying it. So the problem is there. The solution is reaching out to customer with the solution and then propose a kind of POC. And if you will try to integrate your API with their existing platform, that will be great, because railway or NHAI, it's very difficult to provide a complete solution, like platform solution to them, because they will have their own software, they have their own application already running. So the best way is to build POC, get the discuss the problem statement, come up with the solution, and then build a model that can be integrated with the existing applications. So that's the way forward, like for PSUs, especially for the PSUs.
Sure. Thanks, Brijesh. I'll come to you, Dr. Gopalakrishnan. Brijesh mentioned a very interesting point, especially on data and the ability for us to know what data is to be used and then build on top of that, right? You have bad data, which you just mentioned, like before COVID, and now today you've got data that might not be the right set of data to be used for your modeling. How do you obviously data is one of the biggest challenges, and then good data is a bigger challenge. You could be sitting on a lot of unstructured and structured data, but unfortunately, there's very little that you can make sense of it, irrespective of what you run on top of it to massage it, to cleanse it. So, that is one challenge. But for a large organization like Chris, which is looking at data in multiple silos, and each department actually having its own focus, that one of the challenges that you face at Chris on an enterprise-wide deployment of machine learning, or is it still topical in terms of each department has autonomy on how they build up their applications?
So I would put it two ways. One, department-wise objectives or strategies is not good for the organization. The organization have a single vision. It cannot have like maintenance as one vision and the operations as another vision. The second challenge lies in today is the amount of skill sets, people with skill set of AI and ML available even in the market. Not government definitely has its own set of challenges. And even if you go across outside, you won't get people at resources, or even companies who are very good in AI ML, they're just mushrooming all over. The first and foremost thing that as a management person I would look at AI and ML is, one, it has to have these small problems have to come towards an engineering system or a complex system. They have to address the rail transportation system. I cannot have an isolated problem because there is a sequence in which the problems will feed into each other. I can't put the last problem first and not solve the smaller problem first. So I need to find first a very good framework, which has the buy-in of the top management, that this is what is a roadmap, because each problem takes its own sweet time, 6 months or a year of effort before it gets actualized. And when it goes 3 months into the effort, it's like, oh, this data is not available. So you have to start working with a big framework. What data is available, you start building models, impute data. That's what prediction does, is to impute data and fill up the data requirement for the next model. So that's the kind of framework in which we work. We don't work for the last problem first, which the top management facing, because it's very difficult to address that challenge. When you talk to top management, they will tell the problems that they face. They will not talk about the problems, say, the field functionary or maybe the cashier at the ticket counter will face. So there are different kinds of, you should have a transactional AI and you have a management AI. Each has its own challenges. A transactional AI, we have very good data because almost all our transaction processing systems are digitized. But if you like to tell me, okay, what should be the coach production requirement for the next 5 years, which the management at the top level is going to focus on, I don't have a solution. I don't have the data for it right now. So you'll have to split it and have a good framework which cuts across departments, and then you move forward.
Okay. What about, and Gopalakrishnan, I have a follow-on question on this, right? So what about the when you deploy, say, at scale, and if you're looking at initially doing a proof of concept and then scaling it up, how does the buy-in in the organization come in? Proof of concept could be successful, yet people could have concerns on it. When it's not successful, I think the answer is fairly open and shut, right? But when it is successful, how do you get a buy-in in a larger organization like Chris?
So, because our unit is also actually very, it's like three years old. So, what we have been doing as a strategy, and that's, I think, fairly, I would say it would have similar flavor across organizations, is that there is to be a constant dialogue between the people who do AI ML in the organization and the top management, because unless they accept the problem, because they have the authority and the responsibility. I'm in an IT department right now, whereas the top management is what controls the resources, the resource allocations across the organization. So people, they have a more what you get position of responsibility, or you can say where they have a control over different regional offices and different departments to say. So we keep on actually having a constant dialogue or workshop, as you can call it, with our management, with the top management. I have a, we can say, easier access to them, because I'm coming from the same domain expertise. I handle the AI, but I also have the domain expertise of railways. For 15 years, I have worked in the operations side. So that makes my life a bit simpler. But I'm sure for people who are coming from outside, it becomes a bit trickier when you have to have the buy-in of the top management, because any system, it takes 6 to 7 months of effort, and it is discarded at probably a decision which is taken in a day. That is not working. So, and then again you go back to the drawing board. It's very painful that way. So, and as Brajesh had mentioned, we are also looking at only those kind of problems for which we have an IT system which we can deploy it live on the IT system. We are not looking for an offline Excel-based model or Excel-based solution to be deployed.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gopalakrishnan. Preeti, I think you got the gist in terms of what Dr. Gopalakrishnan was indicating in terms of large enterprises, and I look at Quantilla coming in more from an implementation standpoint. The idea is Quantilla typically enables an organization to be more efficient, whether it's a municipal body or it is the Ministry of Urban Affairs. So you will typically go in and enable them and push machine learning models, machine learning challenges across to them. So how do you typically see a challenge in helping your customers adopt machine learning? And this is not so much internal for Quantilla, but I'm looking at how do you take it from an external standpoint and get a customer buy-in for a machine learning problem statement?
Yeah, I think very valid point. So technology is one piece. Unless it really makes business, it doesn't make sense. So for the cities, right? So we're talking about sensors data. So how many sensors are there? If it really flows, it makes sense. So there is data challenge everywhere. The quality of the data is a problem today, and the pattern of the data is a problem today, right? So if I want to say, hey, I'll apply an AI ML model to predict the COVID cases that are going to happen tomorrow, will it work? Because it's a pandemic. It's not going to tell me that today I'll give you 10 cases, tomorrow I'll give you 20 cases, day after I'll give you 30 cases. So there is a challenge in terms, it's not a data is bad. It's just the trend. It is probably in certain cases the trend is not there, probably in certain cases trend is there, and that is where I think some of the deep learning models where the data is not there. Let's say I just want to do something for the citizen safety, and I'm building some kind of a crime module where I'm trying to give an image of a criminal, then we're trying to search corresponding criminal faces. Now, how do I train a model to do this? So I think in AI world, one thing that has beautifully happened over the years is openly available labeled data sets that you can use. You can use the concept of transfer learning, where you can train the models using the open data sets wherever you have data challenges, and then make it work, augment the real data not being available with the data that has been trained over the years, the label data, and then make the models work. So that if a machine learning algorithm or an AI model knows that, hey, this is the face of a human, and probably if it knows these are the elements that I need to match in a facial recognition or a video camera, if you're thinking of any kind of a traffic violations reporting by taking a snippet of the traffic number and all that. So there are challenges and it's not straightforward unless you really augment it with some other form of data, right? So the data challenges are there, but then, and it cannot be always 100% accurate. It is a best approximation model, but then even that is good enough. If you don't know today what's going to happen tomorrow, at least with 70%, 80% confidence, if I'm able to say that this is what is going to happen, it's good enough than not knowing the future at all, so that you're better prepared as a governance. And that's what our customers are, right? So we help our cities, government units in terms of better managing the resources. If you at least have an idea, a fair thought with this much accuracy, it helps them. And that is where we are into 30 smart cities business today. And we have helped 30 cities in terms of cover engagement, and within India and even abroad.
Sure. Thanks, Preeti. I'll come to you. So I'll Brijesh, maybe I'll come back to you on this. We have seen, you've told us especially how Garuda and Blue Hawk have gone ahead and deployed AI. What has set you up for success? If you were to put your finger on one thing that, well, this is what I would give as an advice to the audience and people who are listening in. that we did multiple iterations, but there was something that actually set us up for success when it came to deploying machine learning, when it came to deploying or envisaging the problem, the challenge, the overall statement of work that you want to do. What is that one thing that you want to give to the audience here?
Okay, so initially, the problem that we faced, and I already explained what approach we took. So my suggestion, as per my experience, what we faced and what the solution we have, like what route we have opted. I think the right approach is to reach out. Like let's suppose you are working on one problem statement or one vertical. First, you have to identify the problem statement. What problem statement you are going to solve. You have to do your homework first. You need to understand. As I explained, like one problem, one solution will not help you to get into this market. At least you have to come up with a complete workflow. What problem statement, real problem statement you're going to solve. For example, while working with the transmission and distribution companies, like traditionally we are providing the O&M and the automated inspection and all AI ML we are using to detect the thermal and visual anomalies. But the actual thing comes when you are providing services, then they are coming up with some problem statement. Like very interesting problem statement we got is a monkey scaring system. So switchyard has a problem of monkeys, like monkeys are being electrocuted. So when you will engage more with the customer, you have to come up with the solution kind of POC that I already explained. This is how we work. Like reach out to the customer, get their feedback. Okay, so come up again. It's a kind of you have to iterate. Like you have to come up with the version 2, version 3, and then you have to satisfy the customer first. And this is where you will at least solve one problem. And then if customer you are engaged with the customer, then you will have more access of that customer. So, for example, this is the coincidence. Akhilesh sir is here. He was my first customer when we started in 2017. I got a call from him, and this highway thing that you have seen, this is what he has provided his problem statement. Like I came up with the idea, like I will map the highway, I'll do the videography and all. And then he said, like I have a different problem. I need kind of health of my highways. I need the inspection report. And we participated in one tender. We got selected. We got a motivation that okay, if I will come up with this kind of solution, maybe I will be maybe he will consider me. So it's like you have to connect with the customer, you have to get the feedback, multiple meetings you have to do, you have to get the real problem statement, come back with the solution. And it's like within 2 days or within a month, you cannot come up with a solution. You have to understand the domain first. Because the fact is we are from the software background, we are not the domain expert. And now I can say like I know GIS, I know civil, I know even like different sector you are working with, you will understand more that sector. So this is the right approach. Connect with the customer, get the problem statement, do the homework, come up with the POC, get the feedback, and then maybe if you can offer some kind of API that can be connected with their existing solutions. And that's where I made the mistake. I was offering always that my platform should replace all the problems, but PSUs will not. It's very difficult to replace existing IT solutions with your platform. So at least develop an application that will be utilized, that can be utilized as a separate API. I think there are plenty of billion of use cases still there. So there is no competition in this field. Go and develop something and get your domain knowledge because you have some educational, maybe you are from some different background, but there are plenty of opportunities there and you have to just learn and build some kind of solution. That's my suggestion. Sure. And that's what I learned. Yeah.
Thank you, Brijesh. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Gopalakrishnan, maybe I'll turn to you. We wanted to check, so the same question again, posing to you as Brijesh mentioned. What is that one thing that you would actually tell large enterprises or startups to focus on in getting their machine learning journey right?
So first thing first, the organization, the top management should have a vision or a buy-in, without which I don't think any AI ML models, or even because you need the resources, you need the coordination, you need people to validate your results. So all that kind of support will come only when the top management itself has a vision and a buy-in. Then second thing is invest in people. Every organization, small or large, needs some people who understands a little bit of data and a little bit of technology. You cannot have zero technology people within the organization and then expect to do AI and ML. You can scale up your organization 100 times if you have one person. So 0 into 100 is 0. 1 into 100 becomes 100. So you need at least one person or two persons within the organization who understands AI ML. Scale it up. The third thing which I would do is look with a vision, invest in your data, because data sometimes getting good quality data and getting it in the right format takes a year or a year and a half. Preparing a data lake is not a small journey. It might take a year or it might take 2 years. And if you expect something magical to happen in 3 months, which is what normally people expect, that, oh, I told you 3 months ago, you're not still delivered, but data sometimes is tricky. So invest in the data. If you have these three things right, I think AI/ML is you can deliver it in a year, or maybe you can certainly start delivering models from a year or so, and then in the next 5 years you will realize that you have transformed yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Gopalakrishnan. Preeti, let me turn to you on this. How do you see? What is your recommendation for the audience here?
Yeah, so I think both Brijesh and Gopal covered it really well. So we're talking about two pieces. One is the technology aspect of it. One is the business aspect of it. I can really build big models by putting the best developers, the best data science guys as a technological piece. But will it sell? Is it something that the customers want today? So there is a bridge between technology and business. You're using probably GPUs are very costly compared to the other units, right? Maybe I'm using spinning models, I'm building deep learning models, but is it something that somebody would want to buy for $1 million? And that's a bridge between, I think, the audience that we probably have today, from startups to the AI guys. So somewhere this needs to bridge. And one of the bridge, I think Brijesh beautifully pointed out that it's the domain knowledge to great extent. One is you can keep talking to the customers, asking them, what is your problem? How can I help you? Really have a ear for the customer, because we have to solve their problems and not really fit a model for them and say, hey, please take this. And first figure out what the problem is. Formulation of the problem has been the biggest challenge. Once you figure that out, there is the technology, what it can do, which ML model will fit, that's all matter of time. But unless we know what we are going to solve, we are head up for that problem and then say, this is what we're going to solve. It can be 1 month, 2 months, or it could be in a year's time. It's not going to help. So I think bridging the two kind of audience we probably have today, and then one of the options that you have is business analysts. So we are into smart cities today. Unless I know what smart cities is all about, I probably am qualified from ISB. I know every nitty-gritty of, this institution has taught me every nitty-gritty of what data science and AI can do, but can I go and just build models and make it work? It's not that. It's customers want, and we want them to buy that from us. So I think linking these two pieces and taking it together, where you have an organization of great business analysts who can help on the business domain side and the technical guys who can implement, unless you take hand in hand, it's not going to be successful in the terms of monetizing what you want to really do. You can probably do it like an open research project, but if you really want to monetize the business, which probably is the aim of probably 70% of the startup audience that we have today, it should sell. It's not that you're just building technology which is of no use. Right. I think both of them beautifully covered it, and then I think I'm on par with them. We have faced similar challenges. We should identifying what the problem is. That's the key. And then there is great technology. You will figure out how to solve it. Not an issue.
Sure. Thank you, Preeti. Okay, so I'd probably now also open it up to the audience for questions. I think some of the points that were made by Preeti, Dr. Gopalakrishnan, and Brijesh were fairly pertinent, especially I like, Preeti, the way you mentioned that. Is there a buyer for the problem that you're trying to solve? Is there a customer need for what you're trying to solve? Are you trying to build a sort of a utopian vision, right, of what can ML do, but are you too ahead of your time? Versus, are you over engineering the problem as well? Right? So those are a couple of things that have come very clear in terms of the challenges. Now there's a question that's coming in. Let me just read that out. So, and I'll open this up for anyone who wants to pick this up, right? So there's a question that's coming in from Lalita Sharvani. She's indicated that if data is transparent, and how can we inculcate AI into a financial category? I don't know, maybe it's a question for you, Dr. Gopalakrishnan, if you want to pick that up. It's available on all our chat windows if you'd like to. A couple of questions coming in.
No, I'm not able to see it on the chat board.
Okay, are you able to see any questions? Otherwise, I'll read it out. That's fine.
Kanishk, I have assigned those questions to you, so only you can see them.
Okay, got it. Okay, so there's a question that's coming in. Let me actually make it easier. This is an easier one for Brijesh, right? And I'm sure Brijesh can spend the next 3 hours talking about it. It is more on, what kind of survey is Garuda UAV today doing for NHAI?
Okay, so it's not just directly doing with the NHAI. NHAI has a highway and they have a consultant. So we are working with the NHAI as well as their consultants. So we are different type of services we are providing. The most popular is aerial topographical survey as well as aerial inspection. So like a progress monitoring and then just a regular monitoring. Just to provide the report of road health and like maintenance. It's a kind of inspection of the highways. So two type of inspection. One is just progress monitoring, where we have to capture the data and provide the progress report. Another is a complete kind of aerial videography, just aerial videography with the annotation. And that's where, let me pause my video again. Okay, so okay. So topographical survey is another thing where we are providing a aerial topographical survey that was earlier being done manually, like DGPS total stations were being used. Now we have completely replaced that DGPS and total station. You understand, like we have completed 500 kilometers of topographical survey recently, and if you will go traditionally, it will take a lot of time. So to capture the data, process it, and provide the topographical drawing. And similarly, highways, fly the drone, submit the report. But it was a very tedious job. So initially, when we started providing the report, it's like a month. It took months to provide the complete report, where because we have to submit exact location of the pothole, chainage number, and all. So that's where we came up with this solution. Still, we are trying to improve the accuracy. And it's like a self-learning model where the way you are the capturing data, you have to train your model, and one day you will have a right data. At least we completed the whole workflow where at least if we will run the model, 30-40% detections will be done, and then the rest of the annotations will be done through a cloud platform. Submit the report, and next data with that the annotation that we are doing, that annotation is also helping us to build the model, like improve the model accuracy. So that's how two different type of services we are providing. Interestingly, another vertical that was not nowhere from insurance sector. We got from ICICI Lombard. So that is a very interesting use case. We never thought like insurance companies will also be interested in this kind of solution. We are going to conduct a survey of 90 kilometers of highway, and we'll do the flood modeling, we'll predict the erosion, we'll predict the health of that highway, progress monitoring. It's like before giving insurance, we'll be providing the complete report of that highway. It's a completely different thing. The same data, but a report will be different. So these are different types of services. And maybe one day when we'll have a beyond visual line of sight, our platform is ready for the immediate response system, where we can launch, like it will be a smart drone. If any thing happen on the highways, just deploy the drone immediately without any manual intervention. So we'll have to see how beyond visual line of sight policy is taking place.
So there's a follow-on question, Brijesh, and before we move on to Dr. Gopalakrishnan, is are you using drones, or are you using a UAV, or are you using both for this?
Can you repeat again?
The question is, are you using drones or UAV or both?
So it's like a you can use this word drone or UAV. It's like a type of UAV is also a drone, and drone is also a UAV kind of UAV. So we're using right now we're using drone. It's a micro category drone that we are using right now. And Yeah, so it's like the compliances are more for heavy drone, and there is no need of flying a small drone or mini drone. So yeah, micro drone is enough for the inspection and mapping.
Okay, thanks, Brijesh. All right, I think that's all we have time today on the panel. We're almost at the close of the panel. I did want to acknowledge our panelists. So, Dr. R. Gopalakrishnan, Brijesh Pandey, Mr. Akhilesh Srivastav, and Ms. Preeti Suryaprakash. Thank you for joining on this panel. It clearly brought out a lot of diverse perspectives. One from the startup world, from the large enterprises, an organization that today serves many customers and many cities, and then again an organization that actually serves as a backbone for India's logistics. So a lot of you and our viewers have also put in their comments on it, on the specific areas that you've touched upon and how it can help build on. In fact, there are one or two questions which we don't have time for. But clearly there are people asking on how can you do proof of concepts and what is the success rate of proof of concepts. So it's something that we will probably take up in due course in an offline manner and try and provide responses to some of that. But thank you everyone, and thank you to all the viewers for dialing into this. It's been a great webinar on a Saturday morning, and I'll leave you up for your next lunch. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
so much for
Post this webinar, we will be sharing a feedback form with you. Please take your time and fill it up. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you.